I don't know if it's CJ McCollum saying it,
So
but
CJ McCollum did say that.
he did.
Yeah, he said somebody's not happy. They're not happy with one of the situations going on, and some guy told him he's getting traded, and a lot of people are thinking it's that man right there on the screen, Gary Trent Jr., because they're
I mean,
former teammates.
that is quite possible. That's a good assumption. My thoughts was I listened to a good podcast and they didn't they basically they basically alluded to the fact that okay, there's two things the Toronto Raptors can do here. I don't think Pascal or OG Anunoby get traded. If that's like a league altering move, that's just not going to happen. I think they're alluding to the fact that either Fred VanVleet or Gary Trent Jr. is going to be traded. I personally have said try to keep Gary Trent Jr. and trade Fred VanVleet if possible. But in reality, when you look at this situation, I think what could really happen is a bunch of their starters end up suffering mysterious injuries. And guess what happened in the 2020 season after they won the championship? A similar season to this, where they realized, hey, we're not really that good. So instead of trading everyone, we just tell everyone, we know everyone's pissed, we're not winning. Guess what, boys? Y'all are sitting. We're going to tank like we did for Scotty. Let's get a top pick. Okay, nobody's getting traded. We're going to try to re-sign everybody, maybe trade a couple of the vets in the offseason, like a Thad Young and a Kem Birch. And then you go out and you get yourself a lottery pick and you try to get yourself like a Amon or a Sar Thompson or a, Cam Whitmore, Maxwell Lewis, whoever, you have in the top lottery. And now you add another lottery pick because they have all their picks under control. So why blow it up when you're halfway to tanking at this point, and you can just tell Pascal, and OG and a couple of the other guys who are close to 30, hey, just sit for the rest of the year. We're gonna run it with Scotty and Malachi and the rest of and Christian Coloco, and we're just gonna get those guys get minutes and win a tank instead of blowing it up.
Yeah.
Because they've done this before. This is in their nature.
Well, I know, but they had a lot of injuries, like Siakam in that year, and they were playing in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and they alluded to the fact that those injuries that happened that season weren't actually real. Weren't as they alluded. They're like, yeah, because they literally said, you remember Pascal Siakam's injury? And they're all like, yeah. They're like, he just stopped playing one day. They're like, yeah. But like, really wasn't they much about that. Yeah, supposedly Toronto Raptors purposely tanked that season.
So obviously the Raptors aren't working out well this year. They're 20-25. Things just have not been able to click. I don't think that Freddie ends up getting traded, although I know it makes sense to technically unload an expiring contract, and he's not having a phenomenal year, so maybe they're thinking we can get him at a better price. But I don't, I've seen like the Magic trades for him. I have a hard time believing they're going to trade Freddie, but I guess that's a viable option.
They were free agent suitors, but I said if I was the Phoenix Suns, I'd be trying to trade for Fred now.
Oh, wow. And I think Gary Trent's gone. I mean, he's got a player option next year. He's obviously I would take that. He's a great player. And if somebody offers a first round pick for Gary Trent Jr., which is what they gave up for him, what they gave up for him essentially with Norman Powell, I think they would do it. OG's had a good year, but he's struggling in the last few games. I don't think they're at that level yet where they're going to prioritize Scotty Barnes over OG Anunoby, but I agree with Big Perk. I think that the future is Scotty rather than OG. I mean, OG, he was so good when those guys were out that I hope he's not getting pissed off because they don't drop too many shots for him. So a blow up, you got to watch out because people aren't going to be thrilled. And you don't want people not being thrilled.
I just think this is a team that, like, okay, let's just
2 blow-ups in the last 3 years.
It's not a blow-up because they're not trading. Like, maybe they just trade, like, last year. When they blew it up last time, How did we know they signaled the blow up? They traded just one player. Guess who that player was? Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, that was still even a
That was
solid.
great. That was a solid deal. So what if we can go out there and we find a deal of, Fred VanVleet or Gary Trent again in this sense for somebody who had just signed a deal, an extension. Like, let's say, what if you can trade Fred VanVleet for Markelle Fultz? Do you do that deal?
I don't think Orlando's too interested.
I know.
I would do that. I wouldn't do
obviously,
like Cole Anthony and Gary Harris.
That's what I'm saying.
I've
That's
seen
what
in trades.
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't need Gary Harris and Cole Anthony, but if you can flip Fred VanVleet for Markelle Fultz, and I'm an Orlando Magic fan, I wouldn't do that unless the Raptors offered me a pick, because Markelle's really starting to come together, in my opinion, as a all-around point guard. But we can all sit here and be like, Markelle Fultz would fit perfectly into what they're doing in Toronto. And I think this could be the season that they signal the move towards. Also, if you're enjoying this not podcast, but internet radio show, hit the like and subscribe, comment. It'd be greatly appreciated, everyone watching.
We're trying to hit 2,000 subs by the All-Star game.
Yeah, 2,000 subs by the All-Star game, motherfuckers. But the thing is with the Raptors, do you think, because if you look at the NBA draft right now, NBA draft, just, mock draft, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we're halfway and they're 5 games below.
They're 5 games, 5 games below. But if you look at this, what if they could get themselves someone like Brandon Miller, okay, who we've seen people compare to Paul George, or Cam Whitmore, who's like a defensive, all-around guy from Nova. Or, like who could there be a guy that if they do tank, they'd be like stoked to bring in? And I think there's a few, like being able to bring in like Nick Smith or Cam Whitmore, like I said, or Gigi Jackson or Keontae George. Like, I think all those guys could be.
Yeah, I agree. And I've seen a ton of hype all year about Cam Whitmore in Toronto and a possible connection there. And I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, if I'm, 28-year-old Pascal Siakam, or I'm some of these guys on this team, I'm not thrilled with the fact that 2 of the last 3 seasons were
You got a ring.
retooling.
You got a ring.
When am I getting one?
You got my
finger. Yeah, so I've already tasted the ring, so get me the hell out of here while you guys contort your lineup and get me somewhere where I can go taste that again, because now I got this high that it's just not being itched. I've got this scratch that you guys can't itch anymore, and it's been 2 or 3 years of this bull jive. What are we doing here? Maybe I'm not requesting a trade, but I'm thinking to myself, if this were to happen again, if we're not a good team next year, get me the F out of here. And I'm gonna go tell CJ McCollum that.
Damn, bro. Tell me how you really feel.